You ready? Exclusive videos. Look at all that hair on that snail. Look at all these fish. How much have they multiplied? A1A Adventures fam, what has been going on? I know we've been absent for a little bit, but there is a lot up. A lot going up in A1A Adventures and our updates, so let's get to it. And let's start out with Wonton, one of our favorite additions here at A1A. And it has been time, yes, I'm sure you've seen other videos of Wonton where we have upgraded and updated its aquarium. Well, yes, it happened again. So let's turn on the light down here. Let's go. Boom! Welcome, Wonton, to the 50-gallon tall aquarium. Before we had, I believe it was a 35 or a 40, and we just got taller. That's it. So Wonton literally is back to being like a baby again. A baby in its aquarium because it has outgrown. Not fast though. It was just kind of a personal preference in order to give Wonton just a little bit more space, because adequate space always relieves stress on a fish and allows him to grow appropriately. So Wonton is hungry now as always, but Wonton eats daily. Not too much because we want to keep Wonton nice and lean. So Wonton is in a very big aquarium. Same setup. We still have the PVC pipe. We still have the little rock structure that we have of live rock. And, of course, the fish, Wonton. Oh, we love you so much. So, of course, if you haven't seen any of our other videos, Wonton is featured in several of its own exclusive videos. So you can go ahead and check that out from when we first got Wonton and all the way up until this point of upgrading Wonton's aquarium to a nice big saltwater, yet semi-brackish. The salinity is kept at, I believe, 20. So at a 20 range is pretty fair. It's not 25 like the coral, and it's not 17, 16 salinity where that is pretty much full-on brackish. It's kind of right smack in the middle where it's good. So this is Wonton's update, and we're going to go ahead and start with that and conclude it right there, and let's move on. You ready? To the coral tank, of course, to the coral aquarium. Now, we still do have our one and only prized clownfish, our Ocellaris clown, which I'm sure you've seen umpteen times if you've been following this channel for a long time here on YouTube. Now, other than, oh look, well, this clownfish, the reason why it has a little PVC pipe as a home is because it never really adapted, which we've tried several times, hosting an anemone. Clownfish do enjoy hosting anemones only if they can make it happen. If the anemone is receptive to the clownfish, which is always a 50-50 chance, or if the clownfish has previously hosted anemones and that is a part of its indigenous behavior or instinctful behavior from the local fish store or wherever you were to acquire your clownfish, it would have to be already in its traditional behavior. So this one, not so much. But we probably have to get a little bit bigger of a PVC pipe because it kind of is outgrowing it, which taking the clownfish out of its previous aquarium and placing it in this coral aquarium here has allowed it to grow a little bit, which I sigh because it's sad. It's no longer my baby clownfish, but it has grown substantially, which makes me very proud to know that this clownfish is thriving. It's very healthy, very happy, and that's all I have to say about that. But on an anemone aspect, we did add two little anemones that are coral safe for this aquarium right over here. We have an acid wash bubble anemone, and the bubble anemone right now is a little more tentacle-like because it is trying to feed, it is trying to eat, which it loves to eat, so it's very healthy. And the lights are dimming, it is in the evening time, so right behind this Kenyan tree coral, we do have another baby one. And that little baby one's just about to go to sleep, that anemone. And once again, these are acid wash bubble anemones. They don't get as big as a big bubble tip anemone, but they do stay kind of a runt size to a medium size. They won't overcrowd your tank, but definitely do make sure they will not harm or sting any coral, because these anemones definitely make a happy journey around this rock continuously. They do not stay in one spot. So that is one thing to consider and think about prior to purchasing an anemone and adding it to your saltwater aquarium collection. These disc anemones, on that note, have been growing out of control. We started with 2 of them in our first coral aquarium that we were building, and it has turned into about 50, roughly 50. We have all different sizes. That is all the same type right there, next to the Rhodactis mushrooms right there in the middle, and which has a little bit more of a green hue to it. And we have all of them back here as well. Look at all those. I tell you what, such a green, purplish, aqua, teal color hue to them, which is so awesome. I love it. Some of the coral has and hasn't made it. Let's talk about these Kenyan tree corals again. One of the disappointments that I have encountered through observing their progress was this one right here in the middle. Now, as you can see, it's kind of just a slight tree branch, and it looks like it's regrowing back about 6 different stems on the top of it, because we've had the pencil urchin in here for a while. Now, the pencil urchin did an amazing job at just kind of keeping things clean and somewhat and whatever, but we have enough snails to do the job. Now, the snails, that's their role right now. So we did pick up a few Mexican turbo snails, and they are on the larger size, so they're able to do a better job when it comes to cleaning up a lot of just the, you know, that's actually zooplankton matter. I've been using a new zooplankton additive to feed the anemones since we brought them into this aquarium and have acquired them, to make sure that they get their adequate nutrition, as well as target feeding them as well with a medley that I use of shrimp and squid and mussels and octopus. And you could just get it at your basic either fish store, and this is for human consumption. We just put it into a blender, chop it up, and use a turkey baster strainer to go ahead and administer it to the coral. So we suck it up and we target feed them one by one, and it works amazing. So that is a brief update on our coral aquarium, which I'm sure a lot of you were curious, you know, do they still have coral? How's our coral aquarium doing? Yes, it's a same exact one. The Coral Life brand, the BioCube, the 32, is still thriving, doing perfectly fine. Couldn't complain one bit. Excellent product. Not sponsored whatsoever, this video. Just a high recommendation from me to you. And of course it has different timer settings on it, so you can go ahead and add to your own specifications. And it's not technical. It's not, I wouldn't even call it an intermediate grade of a timer to have to learn. Definitely beginner, and even if not, you know, you play around with it a little bit, it can't harm your coral because it doesn't get too bright. It will not burn or singe your coral. If anything, it can grow just a little bit too much algae. Where's that snail that needs that haircut? Oh boy, look at that snail. Look at that one. It's like it's got a whole entire head of hair just blowing in the breeze. You need a haircut, boy. Woo, hey, you got something stuck in your hair. What is that? And that pencil urchin, what it did, getting back to why that Kenyan tree coral looks that way, yes, it was eating them. And if you do your research on pencil urchins, they can and do feed on coral, especially soft coral. So be wary with that, because the pencil urchin was doing a great job up until the point when I was like, oh wow, look at our Kenyan tree coral, it's spreading so well. If you look at some of our older videos, I mean, it looks basically like this. It's like a forest, a big forest full of Kenyan tree coral that were doing amazing. They were spreading. We must have had, and this was another one that we got our first Kenyan tree coral stuck to a plug of a frag that we bought that was Zoa's, very similar to this right here. How this is just a plug, a calcium plug that corals stick to, and we had a little tiny piece of Kenyan tree coral stuck to it. So I'm like, oh, that's a bonus. We'll see if it lives. And that turned into this, and also then turned into this. So it it can happen, which is a good thing. I mean, they're not too expensive. You know, one that's several inches is usually anywhere from $15 to $20 at your local aquarium store. So it just saves a little money and adds some cool coral to your tank that thrives very well, very easy, super easy to take care of, and even requires no feeding. So just good photosynthetic life. So that's it. So it's pretty easy to take care of. We still do have some zoas back there, of course. And we do have our other zoas back there, That pencil urchin once again started to go down on that Massalia coral. The Massalia is starting to take a little bit of a downfall, but it's okay because it still bounces back whenever it feels like. The Aussie Blasto over there, that one's doing pretty nice. That one started to have a bad moment, but it bounced back very well. And we do water changes a little more frequently. We were doing them about once a month because now we only have just the clownfish in here, just one fish, so it's very minimal waste and minimal food that go into feeding this tank. But we also have our brittle stars in here. We have 2 brittle starfish, which have made a lot of babies. I wish I could show you. I will show you in another video. When I add zooplankton to this aquarium while feeding the coral, you have to see how many little tentacles of all of these little baby starfish just pop out and they start waving in the air. It is pretty cool, something neat. And there's hundreds of them, hundreds. Very similar to, if you see that there's Asterina starfish, which we've went and discussed on many of our other videos too, that you could just get as a bonus when you pick up live rock or coral at your aquarium store as well. But these brittle stars are a whole different level of excitement. Wait, there's one right here. Let's see if we can zoom in. Can we zoom in? Can we get you? Can we get you? It's kind of hard to see. It's right in the middle of the screen right there. Can you see those tentacles waving? Let's see. Get a little bit closer. It's probably the best I could do. It's right there in the middle, and it's red, and it has several legs, obviously, and it's just hanging out. And what they do is they wave their legs throughout the current of the water to try to catch some of that zooplankton, and they can feed on it, or they just feed on the fallen pellets, or whatever the sand absorbs when it comes to the zooplankton just settling on the substrate. And right in the middle of the screen there, that's another Asterina starfish. So they do well of infesting and taking over this tank, but work great as a cool pet and a cleanup crew. So let's get on to what else is updated here, A1A Adventures. Oh, and you know about this one. Look at all these fish. How much have they multiplied? Yes. Too much. And there are some different ones in here with some better, crazier, more vibrant coloration. They are all swimming up, swimming to the top, begging for food, which they are about to get fed. So be ready for this. But we are not going to be feeding in this video. We are going to just get down on what project we are doing with all of these fish. Because not only did we start with 7 fish in here, and it just has overpopulated itself, but we are going to venture off into the breeding aspect of some freshwater fish. And now, because there are so many baby fry in here, which are the term for baby fish, I added a little bit more. They are artificial plants, but you could see all the little baby fry in there. Those little tiny guys, they do love it because they are able to hide and stay safe rather than to be eaten, which we haven't had a problem really, because I've been observing a lot of the babies that they've been having, and that's it. As long as you give them a place to hide, or if you have a heavy planted aquarium, meaning that it has contained a lot of plants, whether they're real, whether they're fake, it doesn't matter, that they do have shelter. They do have a place to hide. So with that being said, that is just a partial update on this aquarium, because there's going to be a lot more because of this. Real quick, here's a pencil urchin, by the way. He's up here and just hanging out with the mantis shrimp. And yes, we've tested and made sure the mantis shrimp shows no interest whatsoever in it. It just hangs out, and right there, there's Thor, the mantis shrimp, just hanging out, waiting to be fed, and leaves the pencil urchin entirely alone, and has for several months now. So that's it. Just feed Thor on a daily basis and poses no threat to that pencil urchin. So let's get back to the second update. Oh, hello, Chomper. No, it's not Chomper. Chomper's still doing amazing, living the best life in the big aquarium here. But it's down there. Let's get to that. Alright, so here we have one of our old aquariums, which we are currently cycling right now. And this is going to be a breeding tank. And we are not going to be breeding in this aquarium necessarily mollies, because we do have all those mollies out there in their aquarium, as I just showed you. In this aquarium right here, we are going to be producing other freshwater fish, similar to the size as mollies, but it will not be mollies. These are going to be freshwater fish. So stay tuned, because I'm not going to go ahead and spoil what we are going to be producing, but we will be producing these. We will be more than likely shipping nationwide with our previous experience of breeding bearded dragons, ball pythons, many reptiles for the past 10 years. So it will be all done on a professional level, and we will also probably be doing fish shows or expos with reptiles if we can get in and they allow us to display some of our fish, and that'll be exciting. So even if any of you fans do want to stop by when this gets up and running sometime in 2023, possibly early 2024, stay tuned for that. That will be an exciting chapter for us. So stay tuned, and that's where we're going to leave it off at this potential project right here that you will not want to miss. As always, stay adventurous. Thank you so much for tuning in and your patience with our content here on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next one. As always, stay adventurous. A1A Adventure.